Viewers, like Pakistan bleeds India by 1,000 cuts using terror proxies, Iran has ring-fenced Israel with genocidal jihadis to bleed it mercilessly. Iran was happy to sponsor this low-intensity, debilitating war against Israel using Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and several other sociopaths. Why bark after all when you have lapdogs to do the nipping? But now, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has changed the rules of the game. Iran has ended the proxy war. In an impulsive escalation, Iran has struck Israel directly. Tehran has fixed a little under 200 missiles at Tel Aviv. They fixed them and then, viewers, they fired at them. Most were blunted by Israel's famed Iron Dome, but some alarmingly still got in, touching down in the vicinity of the Mossad headquarters. 3 Israeli military bases in several public areas have also been singed. In a statement released a few hours after the attack, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei said he risked the frightful escalation with Israel to honor the martyrdom of Hezbollah leader Nasrallah and the Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh. Can you believe it, viewers? You're risking a war for terrorists. This is what the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said in its statement. In response to the martyrdom of Ismail Haniyeh and Hassan Nasrallah, we targeted the heart of occupied lands. Attack was in line with Iran's right to legitimate self-defense as per the UN Charter, and in response to Israel's escalating crimes backed by the United States against the people of Lebanon and Gaza. If the Zionist regime reacts to Iran's operations, it will face crushing attacks, unquote. As if to rub Israel's nose into the dirt, Iranian members of parliament put on a shocking impromptu display of bloodthirsty triumphalism. Listen to them, what they were doing in their own parliament. Listen, viewers, let me boost the gnat on these pictures. They were shouting slogans in the most crude display of triumphalism. Listen, okay, we don't have the gnat on this, but we'll come back later. On the floor of the Majlis of the Islamic Consultative Assembly, Iranian MPs shouted slogans hailing the military prowess of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps for pushing, quote, Zionist regime, unquote, to the edge of extinction. Not just this, in the mad zeal to avenge the death of its terrorist collaborators, the Iranian intelligence service also issued a kill list. Can you believe it, viewers? Of Israel's leaders. That's it on your screens. The first name on the list is that of Prime Minister Netanyahu, who, to underscore the animus, was branded, quote, terrorist, unquote. Viewers, it's almost as if the regime in Iran is some modern-day mafia group that issues notes like this to rival groups. This is making a mockery, viewers, of international rule of law. Iran's bombast and the reckless military action has animated some parts of the Muslim world. Even in India, Iran has found backers. Prominent Kashmiri politician Iltija Mufti has thanked Iran for fighting for, quote, oppressed, unquote. The oppressed, viewers. The oppressed. The Hezbollah is the oppressed. The Hamas is the oppressed. Viewers, these are designated terrorists by even Gulf countries, their fellow Muslim countries. Several others in the Kashmir Valley marched for their hero today. Iltija Mufti, as I said the past year in impotent United Nations and so-called Islamic countries turned their back on Israeli genocide in Gaza. Iran might have taken the bait, but at least they are the only ones fighting to defend the oppressed. May Allah Ta'ala protect the people of Palestine, unquote. That's what she said, viewers. But Iran's decision to risk a war to defend the honor of a bunch of non-state actors who have killed more Muslims than Jews, who are designated terrorists in half a dozen Arab countries, Gulf countries, exposes Tehran as a villainous rogue state, viewers. Now let me take you through the background of who Iran is today fighting for. It's risking its own citizens' lives for. The United States has designated Hezbollah and by extension Nasrallah as a terrorist organization. Second hard fact, European Union has designated Hezbollah's military wing as a terrorist organization. The Gulf Cooperation Council, comprising of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, designated Hezbollah a terrorist organization in 2016. Hezbollah chief Nasrallah, these are his own words, says, quote, Jews are the source of all corruption and deception, unquote. The Holocaust is a myth, quote, unquote. The Holocaust is a myth, viewers, for these blighted by xenophobia group of mercenaries. Hard fact 5. Hezbollah has killed several thousand Sunnis, Druze and Christians during the Syrian and Lebanese civil war. If you don't believe me, viewers, look up the Encyclopedia Britannica, you'll get the history. The revenge attacks in the name of Nasrallah also mean that Iran had lost the moral high ground in this battle of legitimacy to Israel. Viewers may recall that the current spate of hostilities wouldn't have been triggered if Iran's proxies, this Hamas and Hezbollah and company, hadn't crossed over into Israel on October 7 last year. On that day, Iran engineered the mass murder of thousands of innocent Israeli civilians through the Hamas. They took more than 200 hostage. Some of them have still not been returned. Make no mistake, Israel is the victim here. And Israel has only targeted a handful of internationally designated terrorists in the legitimate pursuit of justice for the October 7 terror attack. But Iran, on the other hand, is demonstrating an unhinged inclination to ethnically cleanse 10 million Jews. That's the difference, viewers. Israel has every right to escalate and make Iran pay for its xenophobia. I want to open this up, viewers. I want to bring in a very distinguished panel. And that's really the tamasha that took place today in the Iranian parliament. Look at them. They're like, viewers, people out on the streets cheering a bloodbath or an attempt at genocide. There's no humanity here, viewers. There's just none. But let's open this up. Let's put this out to debate. Let's ask some sharp questions, and questions on the hard facts are always backed, viewers, by the hard facts. Because every argument is stronger when it's backed by hard facts. I'm not cooking any of this up, viewers. And I want to start with Isa Amro, who's representing today the so-called victim's point of view. So I have to ask you, sir, today, has Iran gone totally rogue? What sort of regime, sir, what sort of regime supports terrorists, is prepared to risk war to save the honor of rapists, homophobes, the killers of Sunni Muslims, and who are anti-Semitic? Can you respond, sir? Mr. Amro, can you respond, sir?
Yes, Mr. Rahul.
Please
Rahul.
respond. Yes.
First of all, I'm not so-called victim. So when you describe me, try to be accurate and be professional journalist. I speak to the majority of Israeli media, international media. It's the first time to be described as you describe me. So please respect me when you want to describe me. I'm a Palestinian human rights defender, victim of the Israeli occupation and apartheid, and it's not your role as a neutral journalist to label me and stereotype me as you want. This is first. Second, you are encouraging to a Middle East war or to third world war. What are you talking about? Are you encouraging Israel to escalate the situation in West Bank, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in the Middle East? Really, you know, it's really crazy what you are talking about. Do you love really the Sunnis who were killed by Hezbollah? I'm not a big fan of Hezbollah. I'm not a big fan of Iran at all. But you personally, Rahul, is making me feel that you are inciting the Israeli military to go on and escalate. And many Jews in the world and many Jews in Israel, it's the new year of the Jewish people now, today, and you want them to really to suffer as we, the Palestinians, are suffering from a Middle East war. Everybody on earth these days are calling Israel to de-escalate, calling Iran to de-escalate, calling Hezbollah to de-escalate, calling Hamas to de-escalate, and to stop this war, which will kill only civilians mainly, and everybody will suffer from. Everybody in the Middle East will suffer from this war. And you, the CNN, presenter, is calling Israel to pump, to kill, to go on with its very wrong policy, which didn't bring peace to the Israelis, nor to the Palestinians, nor to anybody. The only way to make peace is to international law be implemented on everybody.
Let me come in.
This is the reference.
Let me come in, Mr. Amro. The only way to make peace is if Iran comes out categorically and says it disowns the Hezbollah, which are terror organizations, the Hamas, the Houthis. That's the only way to make peace. Do you agree with me?
You are No, I don't agree with you. I agree with the Arab Peace Initiative, where 57 Muslim countries and Arab countries are opening their arms to Mr. Netanyahu and to the Israeli leaders, telling them, let's go on with the two-state solution and have a peace solution and normalization with 57 countries.
Okay, is it not true?
It's true.
Is it not true that the GCC countries have designated the Hezbollah a terror organization?
I'm not here. I'm not speaking in the behalf of the Hezbollah. Hezbollah, for me,
I'm not talking about the Hezbollah. I'm talking
Sorry,
about the Gulf cooperation countries. Have they not designated the Hezbollah a terrorist organization? Yes or no? So you're a Middle East expert.
Listen to me. For me, many Palestinians disagree with Hezbollah because what happened in Syria.
I'm asking you a simple question. Has the GCC designated... Mr. Amro, look, I'm not here to make anything... No, one second.
You have to invite somebody from the Gulf countries
Mr. Amro,
who speaks
I'm only asking you, as a
Qatar.
person who lives in Palestine, simple question.
Yes.
Are you not aware that the Hezbollah is designated a terror organization, that the Hamas is designated a terror organization by a huge plethora of international countries, including Gulf countries? Yes or no? You must surely know this.
The Middle East and Palestine and Jordan and the Gulf countries is not Hezbollah and Hamas. You should not label us and stereotype us.
I am not labeling anybody. I'm only asking you a general knowledge question. Do you have the general knowledge question's answer?
I want you to talk about the Palestinians who were killed during Gaza war.
What we have here are apologists for terror organizations. And you see, as an Indian, I'll tell you as an Indian why I have such a problem. Because we are in the same position. Let me finish, Mr. Amro. Let me finish, please.
They want to take...
I haven't spoken over you. I've sought your permission. So now, please.
Rahul, I had a big concern to be on your show today because, listen to me, you don't talk as a neutral journalist. We are 4 or 5 speakers here. You should, as the presenter,
I don't have a right to an opinion. I don't have the right to an opinion. No, one second, Mr. Amro. Don't attack me. I asked you specific questions. If you have a problem with any of the hard facts that I've presented, come at me and say that your hard facts are wrong. Nothing is wrong on this show. Now, one second. Viewers.
You should not impose your opinion
Viewers, I'll tell you. Why shouldn't I? I'm an editorialist. I write columns. I have a mind and I use it. Maybe you don't, but I do. Now, viewers, very simply. Well, good then. Let's not make this personal. I haven't even said anything personal to you or anything to suggest that I'm getting personal with you. Secondly, you misquoted me.
When you said so-called victim, I am a victim of the Israeli occupation.
I said that,
and apartheid.
No, just a minute.
I was attacked many times by Israeli soldiers and by the Israeli settlers.
Just a minute. Are you a victim or not?
Me personally, yes. I'm a victim of the Israeli occupation.
Then there's nothing wrong in what I've said. Now, just 1 minute.
You said so-called.
That's a figure of speech. Anyhow, 1 minute. Viewers, just a second. Look, As Indians, we know where Israel is at this moment in time. We are surrounded by a bunch of countries on the left and on the right, in Bangladesh and Pakistan, that sponsor cross-border terror. We know what it's like to be bled by 1,000 cuts, viewers. Would you like it if tomorrow, for instance, viewers, and I'm putting this in the Indian context so you understand, this is a straightforward analogy. Imagine tomorrow, India takes out Hafiz Saeed, who is nurtured and nursed by Pakistan, and they do so not on Pakistani soil, but let's say in Afghanistan, or if he is shopping in a mall in Dubai. Let's assume India does this, and suddenly Pakistan attacks you to say we have to defend the honor of Hafiz Saeed. What would you do? Would you sit and look the other way? Turn the other cheek? I don't think so, viewers.
Civilians. I don't kill
Would you go out there and ask the world for their support?
Destroy universities.
One second, sir, please. Mr. Amro, listen, I haven't interrupted you. Don't interrupt me, please. I'm giving a point of view. You have a problem with it. I can't help it. We've argued. Let me open this up. Let me bring in the others. Let me bring in the Israeli MP. I'm not going to pull my punches. Let me ask him. And he's joining us from Tel Aviv. First of all, Happy New Year. Unfortunately, it begins on a sad situation. But Mr. Tal, Iran has justified the attack, claiming that Israel has carried out extrajudicial killings of its proxies and military men on its soil, in ally countries also. What is your response to this charge?
Well, Iran has one plan. That plan is to destroy Israel. Iran is operating on this plan using their proxy for many years. Hamas is one of their proxies. Hezbollah is one of their proxies. The Houthis in Yemen is one of their proxies. And they're using them in order to destroy the one and only Jewish state, Israel. We didn't initiate any war. To say that they're responding to something, that is a joke. That is hypocrisy in the most absurd way. Because, again, on October 7th, they sent Hamas to penetrate our villages, to kill, to slaughter, to rape, to burn families alive, to kill 1,200 Israelis and kidnapped over 250 Israelis into Gaza. This is what they have done. So to say that now they're responding, that is a joke. That is like a rapist blaming its victim for pushing him off. This is what is happening here. Israel is now fighting against Iran and against their proxy. And we are not just fighting for ourselves, we are fighting for Western civilization, because what Iran is trying to do is not that just to destroy Israel. They only see us at the forefront in their battle. They want to destroy the entire Western civilization. They hate the values that we represent, and this is why they're trying to destroy us. And we have news for them. It's not going to happen. We are not going anywhere.
Well, you heard both sides, viewers. The Israelis don't seem to be backing down at all. Now, let's open this up even further, because I have more questions, of course, for Mr. Tal and Avishag Avinom, who, by the way, viewers, in the last attack, which took place on October 7, was really caught in the middle of it almost, if I'm not mistaken. And she's been, of course, the media advisor to a former prime minister, so she knows what terror feels like when it knocks on the door right next to you. So we'll come to her in just a few seconds, but I want to also bring in Dr. Ranganathan and Brahma Chileni. Dr. Ranganathan, I've been accused of accusing Iran of abetting in the murder of innocent Israelis on the behalf of terror organizations. And I'm being told that I have forgotten to be objective. Can anyone be objective about terror, Dr. Ranganathan, that endangers people?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I'm just astonished by the pro-Palestinian, that's the ticker that labels him, was waxing eloquent and trying to be preachy concerning you. And the moment you asked him a very simple question, which was totally factual, cat got his tongue. And I'll tell you how many other cats will get his tongue if you were to ask him, is Hamas a terror organization? If you ask him, is Hezbollah a terror organization? He would not answer that. He would say, look, I don't have any business with Hezbollah. It's like saying I don't have any business and I'm not a fan of Osama bin Laden. It's a clear-cut yes or no. That is the problem. It just takes 1 minute to expose these terror apologists. I'm not concerned with this gentleman. I'm concerned with what is morally right. And let me take a couple of minutes to tell you exactly what it is. Tonight, Rahul, 1.15 billion Indians stand with Israel. You know the population of India. That's why I choose my words very carefully. 1.15 billion Indians stand with Israel. Because standing with Israel,
the majority of the Indians stand with Palestine and with the Palestinian victims, and they stand with international law. So don't speak on behalf of the Indians.
Did I interrupt you? Did I interrupt you
no,
when you were going on your diatribe?
But you don't say facts.
Is Hamas a terror organization? Is Hamas a terror organization? Will you have the guts to answer that?
The conversation is not between me and you. No.
But you made it. You attacked him. No, hang on, Mr. Amro. Please let him finish. Let him finish. I will allow you to come in. Mr. Amro, please. You interrupted him.
But don't say 1.5 billion Indian.
But you interrupted him. You can cross-question him. I'm not going to stop you, please. But if you keep interrupting, then we'll just stretch this debate and no one will have an opportunity. And we have others also on this panel. So please, thank you, sir. Thank you. I know it's a... Look, I don't want to in any way, viewers, undermine the sensitivities on any side, please. But there are certain truths that we need to speak before we can address the problem. So 1 second. Dr. Ranganathan, yes.
Yeah, look, I am as much sensitive to the Palestinian problems as anybody else, this Mr. Amro. But when it comes to terror, I'm sorry, there is no sensitivity. Will he be able to stand up and say what happened on October 7, 2023 was a terror act committed by Hamas? He won't. He's a terror apologist. So I don't want to listen to his diatribe. Now I want to complete, I hope, without interruption. As I said, I know everyone knows the population of India. And I said at least 1.15 billion Indians stand with Israel. The others who don't, I've given them the leeway of Mr. Amro that they need not stand with Israel. Because standing with Israel, Rahul, is not only moral, it is imperative that we do so. What Iran is to Israel, Pakistan was and is to us. Just tell me answer one question. What would you call a state that was harboring Osama bin Laden in its biggest military cantonment? Would you not say it was complicit? Yes, it was. Likewise, what would you say if Iranian ambassador is caught with a pager that is used by a terror organization? Did Indian ambassador was American ambassador using those pagers that Hezbollah was using? No. Why was it an Iranian ambassador who was using those pagers? Obviously, there is complicity, but I'm not concerned with that. I'm not concerned with terror apologists, terror organizations. I'm concerned with what India's stand is. And I tell you, we need to stand with Israel because we not only are going to do this morally, but we are also going to repay a debt. And that is what friends do. Have we forgotten that in the wake of Pokhran 2, 1998-99, when the world slapped sanctions against us and Pakistan invaded us in Kargil, thinking it's got one up on us, the tide was turned when Israel supplied us with weaponry going against world sanctions. Let us also not forget that all our Arab friends, including the Palestinians, ditched us during the 1971 war with Pakistan, and it was Israel that came to our help despite America warning it not to. The facts that emerged from the explosive Huxer papers, and how did we repay Israel then? By not backing it during its Yom Kippur war in 1973. Now finally, because I know what the answer of this gentleman is going to be, he will say Hamas is not a terror organization. Now, while Israel Declaration of Independence Charter does not discriminate between Jews and Muslims, the charter of Hamas, which I'm sure this gentleman knows very well, democratically elected by the Palestinians, by the way, proclaims that the day of judgment will not come until Muslims fight Jews and kill them. Israel will continue to exist until Islam obliterates it, just as it obliterated others before it, unquote. I challenge this gentleman who was saying I'm not a terror supporter to say, number one, whether this is Hamas charter or not, and number two, whether what Hamas perpetrated on October 7, 2023 was a terror act. I challenge him.
Well, I'll tell you, Doctor, first of all, they were democratically elected only once, after which they've been autocratically ruling. There have been no other elections after, I think, 2006 or 7. Right? So that's one point. Secondly, they've actually cleverly updated that charter, by the way, after the United Nations and everyone started actually looking at the fine print. So they quickly updated it, and now it sounds like, something that has been ripped out of the Bible. It's so, humanist. But nonetheless, I want to bring in Avishag here. And of course, Brahma Chileni. Avishag, I want to ask you this, because this is constantly thrown in Israel's face. And this is a question that I will also put to the Member of Parliament in just a few moments. But many people say that Israel is the occupier. We've had Mr. Amro saying this, and that Iran is the great liberator. How do you respond to this?
I don't say that Iran is a great liberator.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Israel is an occupier. I only
speak?
said that you would say. I didn't say that you would say Iran is a liberator. I only stopped at the first. But okay. Yes, Avishag.
So Iran is the great liberator, like the Nazis were the great liberators of the Jews of Poland. Okay, so making that equation is just a joke. The Iranian supplied and equipped Hezbollah, helping Assad to kill Palestinians. I'm very happy to hear the pro-Palestinian guest you have here on the panel saying he's not sympathizes with the Hezbollah, which is a refreshing breath of air to the massive celebrations we've seen all across Israel, in Gaza, in the West Bank, even in Arab villages within Israel, celebrating the attack, the huge scale attack that occurred yesterday, even taking a picture with the missile shrapnel, which is insane. And by the way, the only victim that died yesterday from this attack was a Palestinian himself in Jericho in the West Bank. So, it gives you a clue about the two different societies and their values. While they're celebrating that when Israel is being attacked, they're celebrating and cheering it with pure glee to those sites of hundreds of missiles raining down upon Israeli citizens and killing their own fellow neighbors to the community, to the Palestinian communities. They're celebrating it. They don't care. It just shows you exactly the mentality that we have here, unfortunately, in our neighborhood, that they are willing to give up for their own family members, their own community members, their own, hopefully it will be a state, but it doesn't seem like it, especially after October 7th. They're just willing to give their lives up, their children's lives up for the sake of hurting Jews.
Right.
This is your distinguish that gives you the fine line between both cultures, what happened yesterday. And by the way, what happens in Tehran, that you showed in the beginning in their parliament, it just shows you this fanatic death cult autocracy, theocracy that is we are handling with. And this is even more dangerous than a Nazi ideology, because a Nazi ideology was a political and social racist ideology. Here we are talking about a religious one. That people believe in it with all their hearts. This is the most dangerous thing that the world is facing right now.
Now, Brahma Chileni, I was misquoted by the gentleman, Mr. Amro, who implied that I was urging and inciting Israel to escalate. No, what I said was that they have a right to escalate should they choose to do so, because of the factors that I listed. So I want to ask you, Mr. Chileni, does Israel enjoy that right, or it should just back down because actually it is wrong, morally wrong, as Mr. Amro is trying to suggest here?
But under international law, if a country's very existence is threatened, the country has a legitimate right to respond to that threat. And Israel faces an existential threat from the so-called axis of resistance that is made up of Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas. The issue is this: does Israel have credible military options to finish the so-called axis of resistance, Israel enjoys regional military preeminence. There's no doubt about that militarily, Israel is dominant in the region, and it has clear advantages in technology and intelligence, as it has repeatedly shown, including recently against Hezbollah, triggering these pager blasts and walkie-talkie blasts, for example. And even the killing of Nasrallah was a great intelligence success for Israel. The issue, though, is what are Israel's military choices today? Unfortunately, the choices are pretty tough for Israel because if you take Gaza, despite wreaking large-scale devastation and assassinating several Hamas commanders, Israeli forces are still confronting organized Hamas resistance almost a year since the war began, with Hamas even recruiting new fighters. And the Israeli military now acknowledges publicly that eliminating Hamas is not a feasible military goal.
Okay.
Nor does Israel have any real military solution against Hezbollah, which is a more powerful militia than Hamas. In fact, Hezbollah is more than a militia. It's a state within a state. Within the state it runs in Lebanon, it provides social services. It runs hospitals, schools, and other social services. And this vast social infrastructure has helped Hezbollah to cement its hold on the Shias in Lebanon. Now, against Iran, which is the real threat that Israel faces, which is the master of these proxies, Israel's military options even look more modest, because Iran is a sizable country. Israel is a small country, but militarily quite powerful.
Okay.
And obviously, military solution doesn't exist against Iran. And therefore, it begs the question as to how Israel can deal with the pressures on its security. The fact is that Israel's neighborhood, like India's neighborhood, is a very troubled neighborhood, that this combustible neighborhood in which Israel is located, that neighborhood has gone from bad to worse, and yet the security choices for Israel are very difficult choices.
Okay, let's bring in Avishag Avindam on that, and let me ask her this, because the ball now is clearly in Israel's court. It has already threatened to make Iran pay, but it has also said that a counter strike will be at a time of its choosing, Avishag. And there are several options, some that could even lead to a catastrophic escalation. Now, how far is Israel willing to go? Let's go over the scenarios with you.
Well, I'm not a security personnel, so I cannot really give you an informative answer. But I can say that what happened also in April, the attack in April and yesterday's attack, it's an invitation. It's an invitation for Israel to finish Iran as much as we can. I'm not saying that it's possible. I'm not saying it can be immediate, a goal that we want to achieve. But this is the aim. I think not only for us, but the entire region. And now when the Western world has awakened, after the threats that Iran initiated today, that they will attack Western allies of Israel on their own soils. So I think the West is really becoming aware of the great threat coming from Iran. So I don't know exactly what will happen, but I know that every step that Israel has taken since October 7th was something that has needed to be done, despite of the pressure coming from the American administration. If it's not entering to Rafah, we waited so many months to get into Rafah. And then when we entered, we discovered many of our hostages are there. And we discovered huge tunnels going from Gaza to Egypt. So, and then now when we entered Lebanon, we discovered also many terror tunnels that Hezbollah dug. Apparently Redwan Force was the one that planning to commit another attack like similar to 7 to October on the northern part of Israel. So
Okay.
every step we are taking, we are discovering it's for a reason, and we've seen that it is important to stick to our own, obviously with consulting, because we don't want to lose the global coalition. It is very important. We are appreciating American unwavering support in Israel throughout this entire year. It's very, very important. We deeply appreciate their support and their sending of troops and equipment here to deter the Iranian regime, and also the regional coalition with Jordan and Saudi Arabia. It is extremely important, but at the same time, we have to continue to act according to our own rationale and our own experience here in the region.
So let me bring in Mr. Amro and Brahmachaleni once quickly before I go into the last part of this conversation, which is the Indian position. What should India do? But I'll come to that in just a few moments. Mr. Amro, I just want to ask you, which Arab country today is standing with Iran? Because Iran now has made it almost impossible for Israel not to retaliate with what it's done. And you are plunging, or at least Iran is plunging, most of the world into a crisis. And I want to ask you, usually, if a country is in the right, a large number of countries line up behind it to offer its support. I want to ask you, which Arab country is standing with Iran today? Can you name me?
First, I want to reply and clarify some facts. Western Europe and civilization means you respect the international law, and Israel is not respecting the international law, and Israel is accused of genocide. And the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, ruled that the Israeli occupation in the occupied territories is illegal. It's international law. It's not me, Issa Ambrose, talking about that. Something else about Israel. Israel is not defending itself. Israel is too strong. I'm from Hebron. I have many Israeli friends. I talk to my Israeli friends all the time. I'm between the soldiers and the settlers. Israel is not fighting for its existence. Israel is protecting its occupation. Israel is protecting and defending its apartheid and its illegal settlements, and for sure, it's Israeli supremacy. About Palestinians celebrating Avigal, this is something very important. I see settlers around me celebrating any killing of any Palestinian civilian. So we don't want to stereotype the whole people to that celebrating here or there or anywhere.
Let me bring in.
Don't.
Ohad Tal.
I want to Rahul. I want to continue. Please wait. Okay, I didn't finish. So don't try to label Palestinians who who says that we are happy here or happy there. We have many Israelis celebrate.
Viewers, Egypt doesn't open its borders to the Palestinians. In Syria, they are massacred. They are massacred, viewers. There have been not one but 3 attacks on Palestinians. I have empathy for Palestinians, but unfortunately, they picked the Hamas, and they haven't kicked the Hamas out, even now, viewers. Has any Palestinian come out with a flag, a white flag, waved it and said, hang on guys, Hamas is right under us, let's give them up and end this nonsense? Anyhow, I want to bring in, no, hang on, Mr. Amro, now, please. I just want to bring in, no, please, you can't constantly be interrupting. Please, one sec. I want to bring in the MP from Tel Aviv. Iran and its supporters accuse Israel of committing war crimes by killing innocents in Gaza. And they say, therefore, this is payback time. Your response to that, sir? This is what Mr. Amro says. War crimes, genocide.
Israel is doing everything it can to minimize civilian casualties. You know what? War is a bad thing. We hate war. We've done everything we can in order to prevent war. We were even willing to give parts of our tiny lands to the Arabs, hoping that will achieve peace. Unfortunately, it didn't bring us no peace, no stability, no prosperity, not to the Arabs, not to the Jews. It only brought us death and bloodshed. So, we're trying to minimize civilian casualties, but if they're using their own people as human shields, then you should come to them, you should blame them you should blame Hamas, you should blame Hezbollah for putting rockets in people's homes.
Okay.
You should blame Hamas for placing underground terror tunnels and rockets under children's bedrooms. This is what we're seeing each and every day in Gaza. They're using their own people as human shields. If you want to stop the war, no problem. We're all in favor. We only need for that to happen. We need Hamas to bring back the hostages and lay down their arms. You'll end the war the next second. So if people care so much about the lives of Palestinians in Gaza, if they want to see them stop dying, push Hamas to surrender, to bring back the hostages, it will end.
Okay, well, viewers, we can spend the whole evening here, let me tell you, apportioning guilt and blame. But the fact is, tonight, we're at a pivotal point, a very pivotal point, and Israel is looking out for some sort of international support. Leading democratic nations, and we're moving on to the Indian response now, and we're going to discuss that, viewers, but